welcome to GCSA TV Virtual Live. Jake and I are not sitting in Las Vegas like we were supposed to be, like most people who aren't sitting where they thought they might be because of the pandemic. The Virtual Live TV stage is presented in partnership with the Andersons, one of our GCSA TV Live sponsors at the 2021 Virtual Golf Industry Show. I'm Frank Rossi. I'm the Associate Professor here in the School of Integrative Plant Science at Cornell University. I'm joined by Jake Volbeer, the National Sales Manager for ECHO Robotics. And as no surprise, Jake, ECHO Robotics, we're talking robots. Now, we chatted last year for the first time, and you introduced the range system, and there's some new and exciting things you guys want to talk about. So let's start with the basics of the autonomous range management. You know, superintendents are often involved somewhat in the range, and certainly partner with people who take care of the range and deal with the balls and stuff. So why don't you give us a general introduction to this whole concept, and then we'll work our way into it.
Sure. Thank you, Frank, for having me on the program. This is great. I think the best place to start is superintendents and PGA professionals both have a need to keep the range in good condition for their customer base. And what our products provide the superintendent specifically is a means to keep the range mowed and cut to the level of what they're looking for, what the customer base is looking for on the range. In addition to that, we also provide a range picking robot that works alongside the mowing robot so that the range can be kept clean of golf balls and cycle through golf balls, especially this year during the pandemic. There's a need to keep the range picked so that ranges all over the country got huge business this year thanks to the pandemic in part because there's extra customers going out to hit golf balls. And the range picking robot provided a platform to help aid in keeping golf balls available for the customers.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this is they work in tandem, right? You have, one of the things that gets lost in this is there's a synchronicity to the way this technology works that can keep it clean. And you're right. I mean, the demand, golf is one of the sports one of the few that benefited mightily from people not being able to do other things. It's a relatively safe sport. The range, of course, is a place where that can be done as well. Let's talk a little bit about the technology a little bit more, how that works before we get into some of the other time-saving tips.
Sure. It's both of our robotic products. Actually, we have 3 robotic products. They all function generally the same way. So what our units require is an electromagnetic field that's supplied by our charging station. So the charging station has 2 main functions. The first function, obviously, is to charge the robot, to make sure that the robot is out working. And the second is to provide kind of a boundary that the robot stays within. And how it does that is it delivers an electromagnetic field through a buried wire. And then the robot uses the signal, the EM signal generated by the charging station to work a random pattern inside of that zone. And our robots can manage up to 5 different zones and each charging station can put out a total of 3 different zones. So when you've got 2 robots working, in conjunction with each other, that leaves an option for 4, separate zones of operation within the range itself or within any other type of landscape property that you may want or pick golf balls with.
So how big? Obviously, the bigger the land, the more the robots you can supply. But what is the normal size that a single mower and a single picker can do?
So our recommendation is about 5.5 acres to 6 acres. A lot of it depends on what there is in the way of obstacles and impediments. The robot likes wide open spaces, easy to get to, and run time. It needs to be able to run to do its job. On a range, typically, you don't have to worry about interference from golfers because they're used to hitting at the range cart guy. Instead of a range cart guy, they're hitting at the robots.
That's right.
The robots can take direct golf ball hits, no problem. Our mower is outfitted with a proprietary golf ball protection disc, and what it does is it protects not only the blades, the actual cutting units themselves from damage of a golf ball, but it also protects the golf ball. So while it's mowing, you don't have to worry about it chopping up golf balls at all. Or burying them, or any of those types of problems that superintendents generally run into when they need a clean pick of the range. So that allows it to work and function, and 5 acres is really our sweet spot. But 24 hours of operation and consistent opportunities to run is really where these products thrive.
Yeah, and of course, what good is a product if you can't have an app for it? So I see that you have an app to run it. This is everybody's favorite thing. We can run our lives from the app. You want to talk a little bit about that and some of the other new innovations you've brought to the technology to make the improvements?
Sure. I think we've actually just released, I think since the last time we talked, a new web portal that we can utilize to better manage the robots and see kind of what they're doing. It provides a lot more data than what we had before to really kind of dive in to see where they're spending their time, efficiently, what kind of coverage you're getting. Sometimes a lot of this is layout based, right? So when you get into a wire layout or an architectural system, you want some feedback as to how well the robot is managing those areas, and if you need to make any adjustments. So the web portal gives some of that functionality, as well as the ability to put different parameters into the robot so that it knows height of cut. Say you have 2 different zones that you want different heights of cut. We can accommodate that now. So we can actually go to the portal and change the height of cut per zone, as long as it's in the same zone, and adjust it accordingly.
No kidding. You can change the height of the mower from the portal.
From the portal, yes, you can. So you can go on and in the settings and parameters, you can change the height of cut for a given zone. So let's say it's a range, and they want the middle of it to be cut more like a fairway, and that height of cut, say, is 3/4 of an inch. That's as low as our robots can go, is 3/4 of an inch. But let's say they want to have some differentiation on the outside of it, and they want to go to 1.5 inches or 2 inches. As long as it is zoned properly within our wires, we can accommodate that. And the robot then can mow at lower heights in certain areas and higher heights in others.
So in addition to that portal and ability to do these things, were there other adaptations you made to the system to enhance its ball picking ability or setup or structure?
Well, from a ball picking ability, it's a ground-driven wheel that is very familiar with everybody in the industry on how golf balls get picked. So it's ours. There's really no magic to the way that it picks up golf balls. It's a ground-driven, essentially a reel. It's from my golf days. It's not really a reel. It's a disc, a picking disc that pinches the golf balls and puts them into a hopper. Yeah. And then once the hopper gets full, it has an auto sensor, and then it tells it when to go back and get to the charging station. Now, a couple of enhancements that we were bringing along is once it gets to that stage, we've got some location ability now so that it can find much more easily and more efficiently its drop pit and its charging station. We call these GPS returns. Essentially, they're drop zones that the robot can find and locate in conjunction with the way that it follows our wires to get back to its charging station to drop golf balls and or charge.
So, listen, it's so great to see this continue to evolve and the improvements that you made, but I'm sure a lot of people are still wondering, and maybe this is the year that they pull the trigger because of the economics of how things have improved. What can I expect on a sort of return on investment, right? I mean, it takes X to manage a normal 5-acre range at any golf club anywhere that has so much area for people to tee off in, and that's X. I'm going to invest in an ECHO setup. At some point, I'm saving X. How long is it going to take me, you think, to sort of make it make sense for me? Is there some ideas of what that'll take?
I think with anything, the answer to that is always it depends, right? It depends on how the range is going to get utilized and what kind of, what you're charging. There's a couple of really unique benefits to our product that help justify the cost associated with it.
Great.
One of which is the ability to lower the need to close the range. And under current setups, it's normal. Like Mondays are closed for private clubs. That's the day that the range gets mowed, and it's up to the pro shop to get that range picked clean. Well, it's very, very rarely that the range gets perfectly picked clean, and ultimately the mower goes out, mows it once a week, chops golf balls up. Yeah. So you're saving on golf balls. For operations that don't close down, they still need to close down the range to clean pick it, which means they're holding staff later in the afternoons. Pro shops holding staff later in the afternoons to clean pick it, or maybe they're having somebody come in early, super early in the morning before you get a lot of play on the range to go ahead and mow it. So you're saving some dollars there for sure, definitely.
Yeah, so the way we think about it on the golf course, Jake, is utilization, right? There's so many hours in a day, and the weather's got to be nice. So you go to markets like San Diego, you can play golf almost every day of the year, 365 days of the year, because so I gotta believe that if I don't have to close and I'm not losing balls and I'm not keeping people longer, and I can get utilization from half the time available to 2/3 the time available, it's not going to take long to have this make sense. And even before the pandemic, Jake, people practice golf more than they play golf. But I'm wondering from you, as we start to wrap up in the last few minutes, what are the most common questions you're getting from the people who are thinking about it, or the comments that you get from the people who have it? What you think is most important as a case study idea for the people who are wondering about it?
Well, I think it's important to note that robotics in of themselves and what we provide to our customers, it's there's the first scare or fright is we're going to take away jobs. It couldn't be further from the truth. We're trying to take away tasks that are not don't help the efficiency of the overall operation. The golf course superintendent doesn't want to be sending somebody out to the range to mow it if he doesn't have to,
yeah.
or she.
So let me interrupt you. You only lose a job if there's absolutely nothing else to do on the golf course that person couldn't be doing. And if you're in that situation, you're in rarefied air to begin with, right? Who the hell runs a place like that? So go ahead. Right. First, you don't save labor, you reallocate it for sure.
You're reallocating the labor, and you're becoming more efficient with your utilization of your employees at that point, right? Both in the pro shop and in the golf course. This is nice because it hits both of those. It also creates a nice customer enhancement experience. So when you're the first on the block or one of the first on the block to have these products, and there's a definite appeal to the practicing golfer to come in and see them work. They're mesmerizing at first. They're fun to watch work. It goes by, it picks up golf balls, it drops them off. It's very calm, quiet, efficient. After a while, you forget they're there and you enjoy the golf.
Yeah,
so,
there's definitely a wow factor to it. But listen, as we wrap up here in the next minute, you guys are not only invested in this range thing, but in robotic mowing in general, large-scale sports turf, and obviously that could be used for fairways as well. Where do you see we going? Are we still several years away from broader uptake, or you think we're getting close now because of maybe what happened with the pandemic?
Well, I think the pandemic is good for it. I think it was relatively good for a lot of range operations this year. So from a business standpoint, that's solid. But I think as we look forward into the future, there's definitely going to be more adoption in the United States with these products because they're starting to become more and more user-friendly, and they're starting to become better at solving problems for the end-use customer. And I think that in alone will help drive those sales. It's happened in Europe. It's making its way over here, and it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to close, Jake. Thanks so much for taking the time to join me to talk about this. For 2 years in a row, which has been great fun to chat about what we know is the future that lies ahead for all of us. I'm Frank Rossi. Thank you for joining me on the GCSA virtual live stage here from sunny Ithaca, and we'll be right back after this.